There is a reason the world was taught that Africa was the dark continent. Darkness is not the absence of light. It is the presence of a shadow designed to hide what lies beneath. For 500 years, the global narrative has been built on a singular, fragile lie, that the black man and woman had no written history, no scientific tradition, and no intellectual legacy before the arrival of the European. But truth has a way of outliving its executioners. Deep in the heart of Mali, buried beneath the Saharan sands and hidden in the floorboards of modest mud brick homes, lies the physical evidence of our genius. 700,000 manuscripts, written in indigenous scripts and Arabic, covering everything from the mathematics of the stars to the chemistry of the human eye. This is not a myth. This is not heritage talk. These are the receipts. Today, on the Ancestors' Receipt, we are decolonizing the library. We are looking at the Timbuktu science and asking the dangerous question: why was the West so afraid of these books that they tried to erase them from human memory? The late, great Dr. John Henrik Clarke once said, "History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. If your clock is broken, you don't know where you are, and you certainly don't know where you're going." Clarke spent his life documenting that Timbuktu was not just a city of gold, it was a city of books. At its peak in the 15th century, the University of Sankore in Timbuktu housed 25,000 students. To put that into perspective for our global audience, at that same time, the population of London was barely 40,000 people. Timbuktu was an intellectual titan. Scholars from across the Muslim world and the African interior flocked here. Why? Because in Timbuktu, books were valued more than gold. Indigenous scholars like Ahmed Baba, a man who owned over 1,600 volumes in the 16th century, were the professors of this age. When he was later captured by invaders, he remarked that his library was the smallest among all his friends. Imagine that. An African scholar in the 1500s complaining that 1,600 books wasn't enough. Let us look at the contents. The oppressor wants you to believe these were just religious texts. They were not. Let's pull the first receipt: astronomy. Manuscripts found in the Mama Haydara library show detailed charts of the movement of the planets. These African scientists were using complex trigonometry to calculate the positions of the stars. They understood the rotation of the Earth centuries before the West stopped executing people for saying the Earth wasn't flat. Next receipt: medicine. We have found manuscripts detailing the treatment of cataracts. African surgeons in the 1400s were performing eye surgeries that would not be replicated in Europe for another 2 centuries. They wrote about the medicinal properties of desert plants, creating a pharmacopoeia that modern science is only now beginning to validate. Next receipt: mathematics and law. The Timbuktu manuscripts contain treatises on complex logic, credit and debt systems, and the Kurukan Fuga, one of the world's first charters of human rights. While the West was still refining the divine right of kings, the Mali Empire was documenting the rights of the citizen and the limits of the Sultan's power. If this knowledge existed, why don't we see it in our schools? This brings us to the crime. In the late 19th century, during the scramble for Africa, French colonial forces moved into Mali. They didn't just come for the land, they came for the mind. To justify the enslavement and colonization of a people, you must first strip them of their humanity. You must convince the world, and the people themselves, that they have contributed nothing to civilization. When the French saw the libraries of Timbuktu, it broke their narrative. An African who can perform eye surgery and calculate the distance to Sirius is an African who cannot be easily told he is primitive. The libraries were looted. Thousands of books were taken to Paris, tucked away in the basements of museums where they would never be translated or shown to the public. Others were destroyed, but they underestimated the people. The indigenous families of Timbuktu, the real librarians of history, did something incredible. They began a centuries-long underground railroad for books. They buried them in the sand, They hid them in goatskin bags. They passed them down through generations, sworn to secrecy. They knew that as long as the manuscripts lived, the truth could never die. Today, the desert is giving up its secrets. In 2012, when extremists tried to burn the libraries again, the people of Mali smuggled 350,000 manuscripts to safety in Timbuktu in the middle of the night. This is the level of reverence we must have for our history. To the black race across the globe, these 700,000 manuscripts are your birthright. They are the proof that your ancestors were the architects of the modern world's intellectual foundations. You do not need to catch up to anyone. You simply need to remember who you were before they told you who you are. The receipts have been found. The debt of ignorance is being settled. I am the ancestors' receipt. We don't just tell stories, we show the evidence. Subscribe to the archive. Reclaim your mind, because a people who know their past can never be denied their future.